Hey everybody, just adjusting the light here. Welcome back to the channel, you guys. I am your host, Sean, and this is United versus Everybody. You may have noticed a few changes to the channel. If you were looking around on YouTube, we are called United versus Everybody now. I was considering the name change a while back. But got distracted as the channel was growing and the community was growing and you guys were getting involved, so it kind of completely slipped my mind. But the MUFC part in MUFC versus Everybody just has always kind of felt like a bit of a mouthful. So I went ahead and changed the name, changed the logo to something I liked a little bit more. Hopefully you're feeling it. Danny in the chat, I just saw too before going live, and so sounds like maybe it is true again. But it does sound like Ahmad Diallo's mother has passed away. Is that correct? I think he posted that on I don't have Instagram. I think that's where he posted it. So I've only seen other people kind of responding to it on Twitter and whatnot. But sounds like that is true. If so, I mean, damn, that's so hard. Because he's so young too. I'm not sure how many siblings or who else he's got in his family, but of course, our thoughts and prayers go out to Ahmad and all of his family members. But that's so hard. Danny just heard not certain. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people reacting to it, and I did see like a clip or like somebody copy pasted the Instagram post that apparently Ahmad put out there. So if so, that's hard. So maybe, I mean, he might not be in the squad. If not, we totally get that. And honestly, I might even encourage him to take some time off and focus on the family for a little bit. Maybe that's just the therapist in me talking and knowing how hard losing a family member and how hard grief can be. So in any case, our thoughts and prayers are with you, Ahmad. I know you don't watch, but if you're there, take all the time you need, my guy, and then just come back strong. Danny says, heard it on another channel. You watch other channels, Danny? That hurts. That hurts. No, it's fine. I do too. It's all good. Danny says my fantasy week couldn't get any worse. It's gonna be an interesting week. We're gonna dive into a lot of that today. Obviously a little different of a video today, just because of really just the lack of a ton of transfer news. A lot of other clubs are kind of finalizing some deals today. Brighton look like they're getting ready to get Diallo over the line, which makes me very sad. They also look like they're going to be getting Matty O'Reilly from Celtic, who I really, really rate highly. So that's another bummer. Brighton are really trying to build a good squad this summer. Hopefully they don't get any these deals over the line by tomorrow. It's too late now, so they won't be featuring. But man, good. Danny B says, you're going up against Goldbridge and I'm still here. That's dedication. No, I appreciate the love. And there are a ton of, like I've said from the get-go, there are a ton of Manchester United fan channels out there. One more can't hurt. Obviously, I've only been doing this for a few months. A lot of these other channels have been around for, like Goldbridge has been around for like a decade. So, but it's good to see people growing, good to see the community get involved, good to see just United fans, sharing opinions and getting their thoughts. And as I like to say, this channel is about fan opinion always. So today, though, a little different news, just because there isn't a whole lot of news today. Wanted to slow things down and do another video on a player who has a big season ahead of him, potentially make or break season, as the thumbnail implies. We did a similar video on Marcus Rashford recently, so go watch that one if you haven't yet. Very similar video. In that video, we took a look at Rashford's United career, the ups and downs, his performances, his numbers, and then some of the off-pitch and behavioral issues that seemed to pop up a little bit last year. I did have fun doing that one, so again, go check it out. Today, we're going to take a closer look at another United player who's been here for a decade, but for some fans, hasn't quite lived up to those expectations. So we are looking today at Luke Shaw and why this season could be make or break for his Manchester United career. So before we do get stuck in, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and get involved in the chat with your thoughts on Luke Shaw. I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of thoughts because we all knew I do. Usman, welcome back, my guy. Good to see you again. So let's rewind the clock a little bit. There was a lot of excitement when we signed Luke Shaw. You remember that was back ahead of the 14-15 season. Got him from Southampton. And we broke the transfer record for an English player when we brought him in as a teenager, right? 30 million pounds. He was just 18 at the time. And it was a big deal. A lot of expectation, a lot of hype, a lot of excitement. He was looking pretty good at Southampton. He made his debut at Southampton's first team when he was 16. So it was like Rooney-esque almost when it came to the age and the hype. Young, English, breaking in, United are looking at him. It was a lot of echoes of that Rooney situation. Shaw is 29 years old now. He just turned 29 last month. He's a senior player at United. He's been considered a senior player now for several years. But his career at United has been a roller coaster ride of seasons that are riddled with injuries and seasons that are, well, I guess, less riddled by injuries, with some solid performances thrown in there as well. There's also a ton of criticism, mainly recently, that he just is not as fit as he could or really should be on some of the injuries. The timing has been a little convenient when it comes to England duty versus United. I am a firm believer in club before country. Like Peter Schmeichel said the other day to BBC, we do pay his wages. His loyalty should be to us first and foremost. It's a bit of a bummer. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And I'm not going to go in on it for their body shape or their fitness, like overall, like for injuries especially, right? But I will say that criticism from former managers could have more to do with Shaw's application than anything else, his attitude maybe. Let's take a quick look at the left back situation since Shaw signed for United. It could lend a little weight to that view. So he was signed when Louis van Gaal was manager, just in the summer right before 14-15 season. Obviously, David Moyes dipped out later in the season. Ryan Giggs took over for 4 matches to end that season. It was a dark season. Then Louis van Gaal came in, picked up Luke Shaw in preseason. In that preseason, Shaw had already picked up a hamstring injury. The foreshadowing there hits you right in the danglers, doesn't it? I mean, we should have seen this coming, right? Usman, we were talking a little bit about Ahmad. We don't know. I'm still not even sure what happened exactly. Like I was telling Danny, like I saw it on Twitter, people reacting to something on Instagram. I don't have Instagram, so I don't know if he'll play. I would think it's totally understandable if he doesn't. And honestly, like I said, being a therapist, I would probably want him to maybe go ahead and take the week off and get everything he needs to get taken care of and kind of just spend some time with his family. Take as much time as you need, but we'll see what happens there. I've worked with a lot of clients who struggle with grief. My wife lost her father early on in our marriage. It's not easy to get past, and you should never put a time crunch on that. Don't put expectations. Grief is a long process, and it looks different for everybody. So do what you got to do, Ahmad. Prayers and thoughts are with you, my guy. So Shaw picked up that hamstring first preseason with United. He didn't actually make his debut until late September that first season he was here. And then, it was fine. The following season, he picked up that horrific leg break in that 15-16 Champions League, and that was in the fall, I believe. He missed the entire season as a result. He came back to training probably like April, May, but he wasn't a part of the first team at all. Louis van Gaal came and went. 15-16, we won the FA Cup. Shaw wasn't a part of that. Louis van Gaal left that summer, and then Jose Mourinho came in. I have my own thoughts on Louis van Gaal getting sacked after winning the FA Cup, but perhaps that's best left for another video. Maybe we can do a video, maybe if you guys are up for it, where we rate former United managers, who's been the best and things since Fergie left. Maybe that's something we could do. Maybe I could have somebody join me and we can talk about that a little bit. Let me know if that's something you guys would be interested in. So in any case, Jose Mourinho came in, and he and Shaw did not start things off on the right foot, I guess you could say, right? I remarked on a fan forum or a YouTube video a long time ago when that happened. Like, Mourinho comes into a club and he's like, it's like he's going to prison. He just immediately has to find somebody that he's going to just target, and that's the person. And he does that at every single club that he's with. It's always one person that he just needs to pick on and needs to target, needs to throw under the bus. And that's just the way Jose is. He's a narcissist. And we can talk a little bit more about narcissism. You guys can look up the DSM criteria for narcissism, because Cristiano Ronaldo is a narcissist as well, but that's neither here nor there. Nothing I say is to be taken as professional advice, by the way. Just keep that in mind. So in any case, Jose wasn't a fan of Luke Shaw, and he actually preferred Ashley Young at left back, right? In fact, even when Shaw played well under Mourinho, Jose still found a way to bash him and even take credit. Again, narcissist. He famously criticized Luke Shaw's lack of match intelligence after one performance, right? Saying, it was his body, but it's my brain that, and basically threw him under the bus several times. I know, Mourinho throwing a player under the bus? No, never. Yeah, it happens. Um, Despite all this, though, Shaw and Mourinho, they did what they needed to do. Shaw was actually named United's Players Player of the Year and Sir Matt Busby Player of the Year in 18-19 season. So he still kept chugging along. So Jose left, Ole came in, and then Brandon Williams got promoted to the first team, right? And then Alex Tellez got signed as well. Shaw continued to suffer with these injuries, and he had subpar performances. If you look back at those seasons, some of these injuries, I mean, that 2021, he missed 18 games. In 1920, he missed 23 games. He missed 18 games again in 2021-22. 17-18 season, he missed 32 games, 30 games the year before. The guy just has kept missing games. And we've talked about this several times, right? How many matches this guy has actually missed. Brandon Williams played 36 matches in 1920 when he was promoted to first team, and that was and Shaw only played 33 matches. So between the two of them, just under 70 matches. Tellez came in and challenged Shaw and even overtook that place in the starting 11, despite Shaw being named, United's Players Player of the Year and in the PFA Team of the season in the 2021 season. Shaw picked up his performances to his credit after Tellez arrived, if you remember. All we heard that season was how Shaw stepped up his game when Tellez threatened his place in the squad. And he did. He was featured in the Team of the Week as well 4 times that year. And that was the first time really in his United career he was featured in the Team of the Week at all. So he did step up his game. My issue with that, though, is that it shouldn't take bringing in another player in your position to force you to perform well. You should be performing well no matter what. Like, you shouldn't be coasting just because there's not a player in your position that is challenging you. Shaw didn't have another season like that until Ten Hag arrived, so a couple years later. In fact, both seasons were Shaw's fittest seasons and his most productive numbers-wise, and he was in the Team of the Week 4 times in both those seasons. So in 22, 23, and then in 2021, those were his best seasons, really. He was fit for like 47 matches. He grabbed a goal in each of those seasons and put up 6 assists in each of those seasons. Those were his best seasons, and he was fit. And so, but also, look at what happened, when Alex Tellez came in, pushed him for a spot. That's when he stepped it up. Ten Hag arrives in his other best season, signs Tyrell Malacia. Another left back comes in. Shaw pushes his performances up. Danny wants to know how many years he's got left. We're going to get to that, my guy. I think he's got like 3 years left on his contract. He signed a new one not that long ago. 22-23, again, stellar for Shaw. Barely any injuries, captain's performances in and out, good presence on the pitch, a leader on the pitch. He was even ahead of Maguire in the pecking order for center backs for a while. If you remember, he was starting center back even when Maguire was fit on that left side. And to his credit, he looked very good whenever he played there. And there's a reason for that, because he's better on the ball than Maguire. He can create space for himself with a bit of footwork under pressure, which Ten Hag values in his center backs. Remember, Licha was injured. We needed Shaw to step up, play that left side. He does it. He's very good on the ball, Shaw. I'm going to give him credit for that because it's just true. He's a leader again, and it frustrated me at times because it felt like maybe under Mourinho and even sometimes under Ole, Shaw was either tactical or maybe it was a confidence thing. Maybe he didn't want to take on and risk getting tackled and hurting his leg again. But he seemed like he would get up into like the opposition half and then he would kind of stop. Like all the momentum would die. But what was frustrating about that is that when he did venture forward, when he did bomb forward, when he did make these underlaps and these overlaps and do these little give and go one-touch plays, he would always create something when he got into the final third. And I like to see him do more of that. Last season, though, the injuries just picked up again. He only played 15 matches for us last season. He was injured the end of last year, but he still went to the Euros and trained with England, played for England, only to pick up a calf injury as soon as he showed up for preseason training with United this summer. Usman says, Sean, can you do something interactive so we can be involved? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Let me know. Got the live chat going. No, when the channel grows a little bit more and I look into some software to maybe start putting some live chat stuff on the screen. You got to remember, I'm not a very technically advanced guy. So that kind of stuff's going to take me a minute to sit down and kind of go through and figure out. But I promise you, it's in the works. It's working on. I just, this isn't my job. So there's little time throughout the day to stop and do this. I get up early to put together the notes for these shows, and then I have to wait for scheduling with my wife's schedule and then my own stuff, my own clients and whatnot. And so I do make a point to do this. It's not my job. So maybe someday when it gets to that point, but it is what it is. I've done polls before, Usman. I have done them, things like that. And I do some posts on the YouTube channel, on Twitter. I've done some posts the other day, like a four choice spot for who maybe should take over for McTominay in the squad. I let everybody kind of take a pick. You guys, there are almost 30 votes in that. So you guys were into that, but we'll get a little bit more interactive, Usman, in the future once I figure out how to do more than just check my email on my computer. But I do like the enthusiasm, man, and I'm thinking of you guys first and trying to do that. But like I said, this is not my job. So we'll get there. So Shaw came back to United after playing with England, after not playing with United, got injured. And now we're in the same place that we were before. And this is what has kind of been the final straw for a lot of United fans, myself included, as the main reason we're having this discussion today. So if you remember, I was talking a lot late last season that we needed to prioritize the left back. It didn't need to be the top priority, but it needed to be a priority. Danny says I'm the same with technology. Yeah, my guy. It's like this new car we got the other week. It's like there's so many features in that I'm not ever going to use. I don't even like it when I get in the car and it connects to my phone automatically. I'm like, I can't do this. So because the elephant in the room then when it comes to Shaw is those injuries and his fitness, right? So let's look at his injury history. It's riddled with muscle and hamstring issues, along with that horrific leg break against PSV Eindhoven in the Champions League in 15-16. All told, Shaw has missed 265 matches for United. He's only played 275. So he has literally, as we've discussed many times, has been injured for basically half his United career when it's all laid out on paper, right? Missed 265, played 275. That is a joke. He's been here for a decade, and he's only played half the matches, basically. And again, to be fair, when he is playing, he does well. Like, he's good. It's just that he's never fit. He has a great relationship with Rashford on that left wing. The two link up pretty well. And I think sometimes that's why Rashford does get so frustrated when if you notice Shaw's not fit and the play breaks down, he's not quite linking up with whoever's playing there and stuff. It's not quite there. Rashford had a similar relationship with Martial. They were just on the same page. And so Rashford's going to have to learn to communicate a little bit and to just realize that not everyone, you're not going to be on the same page sometimes. But again, when he does well when he plays, but the problem is he's just not fit enough. And both and you look at, again, those two seasons, the 2021 and then 22-23, when he had his best seasons, he performed because we'd signed new left backs in both of those summer windows, Alex Telles and Tyrell Malacia. And so when someone, lights a fire under his ass, he's like, oh shit, I gotta play. I gotta do well. And he did. And he earns awards. He gets voted to team of the week. He gets involved in the goals and the assists. Like, I just don't know why he can't just take a little better care of himself and do it. Again, it just seems like when his position in the starting 11 is under threat, Shaw suddenly eats his Wheaties and avoids those injuries. It's just funny how that works. This season is going to be huge for him. And he'll have a lot to prove because we're seeing reports in recent weeks that United are working to identify long-term left-back targets. We were linked with Ferdi Kadiolu, again, who I can't even talk about Ferdi anymore because it looks like we got the here we go that he's going to go to Brighton. I'm so sad about that. I might throw a tantrum about it now and then throughout the season, so be prepared to see a grown man pout on camera. We've been linked with a couple other few names, though, including Rayan Aït-Nouri, Milos Kerkez, Adrian Trufer, Bradley Delaco, Miguel Gutierrez. I personally also liked us to take a look at Fran Garcia at Real Madrid. I think that he is a very, very, very good left back, a very good modern attacking left back. And then Harry Amas has been involved in the first team in recent months and looks likely to maybe get some first team minutes this season as well. Maybe some of these early matches in the League Cup, maybe some of the covers, maybe even in Europe or something. I think we might see Amas and like Collier travel to Europe and stuff when we do make those trips. Whether or not they feature is up for debate. Raja, hey man, how are you? Welcome to the show today, bud. So Shaw's either going to need to show that he can stay fit and maintain the level of performances that we've seen him put up, or he's going to have to be prepared to fight for his place or maybe even drop down to second choice if he doesn't keep things going. If that happens, Shaw's going to need to decide if he's content with that or if he backs himself to go and be a starter at another club. He still has 3 years left on his contract. He's on $150K a week. And he also has the potential extra $50K a week in bonuses if he does that. Rajat says, great kind of crap average CBY to Newcastle. Yeah, it's so funny that Gay might be going for that much. And like, we're told we paid too much for Matthias de Ligt, but it is what it is. So Shaw's contract, Danny, like you asked before, 3 years left, $150K a week, potentially $200K with the bonuses. That's going to be a stumbling block if we want to move him on. Haven't seen a whole lot of links with other clubs. I doubt he's going to get a whole lot of interest with the injuries. So it's not, and it is a stumbling block because it's not as easy to sell players as FC24 makes it seem, right? It's just not, as we've seen with United this summer. I think he could be great at some place like a Newcastle, maybe under Lopetegui at West Ham. And I've mentioned before, I could easily see him going to Atletico Madrid, a la Kieran Trippier when he went there a few years back. I could easily see him doing that as well. I think he'd be just fine there. I haven't watched Simeone's side in a while. I know they were going with like a back three for a while there with the wing backs, so I think that could suit Shaw as well. Usman's got to go. I'll see you later, bud. Thanks for stopping by. He just turned 29 last month, Shaw, so he's got a few years left at this level if he's up for it, if he pushes himself, if he makes a choice to either fight, work with the doctors, maybe, ask the club to maybe get some specialized, focused, unique kind of fitness plan and health plan for him, or if he opts to do that on his own and get a second opinion and a personal kind of fitness or a personal doctor, whatever he needs to do. Maybe he just needs to travel with his own personal physio. I don't know. He has a choice to make, and United are going to have a choice to make too. It sounds like we're already looking at that. So at United, though, I think he has just this season, in my opinion, to show Ineos that they don't need to worry about a replacement just yet. And he has this season to show a large percentage of the fan base that his injuries are behind him and he can be the player that we needed him to be and the player that some of us still believe he's capable of being. Like, I do think he has it in him. It's just the fitness. Right now, if this was his baseline, Shaw's down here in the negative in terms of probably the backing from the fan base. He's got to work to get back to neutral, get back to zero, and then he's got to work harder to push it up to the positive, right? I understand some of you may think it's harsh to go in on a player because of injuries. But I'm not blaming Luke Shaw for the injuries. I'm just thinking about the club and the results and trophies and points. And the injuries are just a factor that you have to consider. You can't rely on a player who's literally been here a decade and has only played half the matches because of injuries. You can't. It's ridiculous that we've waited this, kind of like the number 6 position. It's ridiculous that is the situation. That's the reality of Luke Shaw's fitness. But we've left it this late to bring in an adequate replacement. Tellez was, 27 or so when we bought him. Malacia obviously was younger. Malacia's not as young as a lot of people think. I think he's 25 now, maybe even 26. But Malacia, I mean, that was one of the first signings Ten Hag made. So, but he hasn't exactly looked when he did play in that first season like he's Premier League ready, in my opinion. I know Eindhoven were looking at him, but they kind of moved off after the just concerns about his fitness. So we'll see. It shouldn't take, though, like that kind of signing for Shaw to just step it up. But that's exactly what's happened. So it's ridiculous that we've left it this late to really look more closely at replacements. Again, some of that has to do with the club's finances. Brandon Williams got promoted under Ollie. Jose used Ashley Young. You know, it's this is the way it's been worked. So Rajat says to get a loan. Yeah, but like this is the same situation we were in last season. Literally the same exact situation we were in last summer. This exact time is Shaw Malasia injured. We got a loan emergency signing, and then it's just like, what do you do when Shaw's fit? Shaw should be back next month, but at the same time, it's the question is for how long. We should have signed a permanent left back. We should have prioritized that. Just the way it should have been. Rajat says we'll take Nori for left back as well. Yeah, well, players have to want to come. We have to be able to do that. I think we should have pushed a little harder for Kadiolu personally, but it is what it is. Again, I'm not blaming Shaw for the injuries, but the injuries are there. It's the reality that we face. They have to be considered because they make him pretty much a non-entity in the squad. Danny B says Nori, a good choice, but would cost $40 million. Yeah, there are left backs out there. We've been linked with several. I think that we could look at him. I think it sounds like, because remember we had the recruitment team had that meeting on Monday. They discussed, Nori. They discussed Milos Kerkez. We've been linked with Gutierrez in the past, Laco, Trufer. There's a lot of options out there. It sounds like that's something maybe we could revisit next summer, and it's probably needs to jump to the top of the list. It should have been near the top of the list now. Raja says get Hermoso as a free agent. Yeah, we discussed Hermoso a little while back. He's a center back, though. A lot of people think he can play left back, but it's only because under Simeone, he played in the back three on the left side, and he got forward a little bit more. He's not a left back. I like Hermoso, but I think we're all set on left backs now. Danny, please don't remind me of Ferdy. I'm so sad about that. He says, Ferdy's huge loss. Come back to bite us. We could get a done deal and sent Lindelof the other way. Yeah, if Lindelof hadn't been injured, I think we probably could have done that. Just picked up the injury at the worst possible time. We know that Mourinho loves McTominay. We should have just offered McTominay and see if McTominay wanted to go. And we know that he had turned down Fulham because he was waiting to hear back from teams like Napoli, Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, and whatnot. Like, there probably could have been something there as well. But it is what it is now. Darkrow. Hey, man. How are you, Darkrow? Welcome back, but I didn't even see you say hi up there. Darkrow says, are you waiting like me for the transfer window to close? It's now getting too much. Yeah, that's going to be a rough weekend. The transfer window is going to close. We got Liverpool that weekend as well. And then if you want, that Saturday, I'm going to be doing my video for rating the transfer window and then doing the expectations for the season. I'm going to have my buddy Justin here, kind of like we had Dylan here for the season award show. Go ahead and watch that show if you haven't yet. So be prepared for that in a week. We're going to be doing a show like that. So take a look at the transfer window, rating some of these transfers, the money spent and all that stuff. And then obviously going through the expectations for the season. What are your expectations? What's your bare minimum? Things like that. So we come back for that. Raja here, though. He was. Raja, why isn't Ugarte able to play the Liverpool game? Well, so far, Ugarte is not a United player. That's probably why right now, if I had to answer that question presently, if we can, because he's not with Montpellier, he's not with PSG squad to play Montpellier today. He has to be left out. Neither is Carlos Soler, who I forgot all about. Remember, we were linked with him like 5 years ago when he was at Valencia. So as long as the player comes in and they're registered like the day before kickoff, they can play. It's just a matter of getting that deal over the line. I would have loved to have him in here for tomorrow. I think I would have felt a lot better going into this match. For more thoughts on the Brighton match, go watch that video I posted yesterday. But as far as Shaw goes, let me do a quick rundown of just how much he's played over the last. So last year, he only played 15 matches. The year before, so one of his best seasons, 47 matches. The year before that, only 27 matches. And then the 2021, his other best year, 47 matches. 33 in 1920, 40 in 1819, which is also another year he won some of those individual awards. 19 matches in 17-18, 19 matches 16-17, and then obviously only 8 in 15-16 because he broke his leg, and then 20 in the 14-15 season. So not great. He has missed so many matches in his United career that it's not even like I laugh, but it's like it's one of those things where if you don't laugh, you cry. Like when you deep it and realize, man, we've never really looked at a full-time replacement for him, and we're still relying on him. Like after all the injuries and how many games he's missed, and he's been here for a decade now. Like it's almost a stackable offense that the left back wasn't a higher priority over the last 5 years alone. But those are just my thoughts on Luke Shaw. I want to, like I said, I think like a lot of people, like we can all talk about it and we can all kind of know, like, oh, he's always injured, he's this and that. But like to see it broken down, to see just the take like focusing out of the lens a little bit, zooming out a little bit, looking at it from the big picture and seeing like, oh wow, his best seasons were the seasons we also signed a left back, and he's missed half of his United matches because of injury. He's been here a decade. He still has 3 years left on his newest contract. He's on $150K a week. It's hard. We can say this is make or break season, but that contract does make it hard for us to even do anything. Because it's not like Harry Maguire where he's like never injured. If who's going to want to buy a busted player, right? Like who's going to want to buy that? Thankfully, we're not in a situation now with the former regime where we're just going to keep giving him new contract like we did with Phil Jones to hopefully get some of that value back. I think this new regime is not going to have any problems selling Luke Shaw in a year. And like I said, it already sounds to really take a look at the left back spot after those meetings on Monday identified Aït-Nouri and Kirkes as potential options. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know if there are other left backs that you like, other ones besides Ferdy. Like Ferdy is going to be a 4-letter word on this channel from now on because I am super, super sad about that. Dark Row, we saw of Erik ten Hag last 2 years that he is a laptop type manager. Sorry, window popped up. Who would not rush players into his system. Then how come new players going straight into his lineup were his strict protocol? I think some of these new players are because they're players that a big part of Erik ten Hag not rushing players in. So we saw with Ronaldo in Ten Hag's first summer. We saw with Casemiro even. We signed Casemiro and he didn't play for a little bit. Not because he wasn't fit, but because he wasn't up to speed with Erik ten Hag tactics. With new players, and we even saw it with Xerxes a little bit, he wasn't rushed in quite yet. With players that Erik ten Hag is familiar with, they already know his system. They already know his tactics. There's less time required for them to get on the same page. That's helpful because not only do they pick it up themselves and they're kind of on the same page as Ten Hag, but they can act as communicators and almost coaches on the pitch with the other players as well, because Ten Hag can't be on the pitch. So I think that does have a lot to do with why some of these players are rushed right in. Plus, if they're fit, I mean, they're fine. Cristiano Ronaldo wasn't even here the entire preseason. Yes, personal reasons, he lost a child, but that doesn't change the fact that it's a new manager, new system. He was, 37, 38 years old at the time. He can't just rush into the first match of the Premier League without any preseason, without getting back match fit, and not one conversation with the new manager, really. So Cristiano Ronaldo's ego couldn't take it. His narcissism couldn't take it. And he threw a baby fit by the time November rolled around. And we all remember how that went down. But I think Darko, I think that does have to do with just the players in question are players that he knows. And so they don't need as much time to get up to speed with the tactics. Danny says, Patrick Dorgu, 19, Danish left back, Lecce, looks good, but he be a prospect. Yeah, I think this next left back that we get needs to, it's okay if they're younger, but they need to be first team, quality first team ready. We have a lot of players, we don't need to get someone, I like Dorgu, we've talked about him in the past and we've been linked with him, but we have Amas. I don't want to get 19-year-old who needs to develop. And then we also have Amas coming through. I'd like to get someone who's already playing first team football someplace, already looks very, very good, which is why I wanted Ferdy. I've spoken about DeMarco at Inter in the past as well. We need someone who is ready, like an Alfonso. I would say Alfonso Davies, but he didn't look great in the Champions League last season. And his injuries were not great in the last few seasons. But someone like that, someone like a Fran Garcia at Real Madrid, that's probably my next pick aside from Ferdy. I know I just said not to say Ferdy, and I just said Ferdy. So do as I say, not as I do, right? Rajat, what does laptop manager mean? Don't understand that. He started Anthony, he started Mazraoui. Dilit may be available to start, says Rajat. Yeah, like Rajat said, Nori, he's young too. Nori he's young, but he's been playing first team football with Wolves in the Premier League for a few seasons now. Wolves also have Bueno coming through as well. And so I like Nori. I like him a lot. I think he's really developed a lot in the last 2 seasons, especially. But I think just because of how much we've been linked with him and how good he is, if Wolves sell him, he's going to be pretty expensive, which I don't have a problem with, depending on how much business we need to do next summer. We're doing really well with PSR this summer. When you deep it and break down the amortization, the purchases, the sales, the wages off the books, we're actually doing really, really well. And so I think that we could probably have another summer next season where we bring in like 3 or 4 players. But we'll see what happens. We're probably going to need a winger next sumper. We're definitely going to need a left next summer. We need to probably start taking a look at the number 10 role a little bit more closely. And we probably, if Eriksson and McTominay are still here, we're going to need to look at our center midfield as well. And we might even need to start planning for life without Onana in the next couple of years. So we need to be going to get someone who's young, like Liverpool are looking at Mamardashvili right now, someone like that. Raja says, I think Ineos know what they're doing, like when they signed Sekou Kone. That's regarding our academy. Raja says, good left back. Wolverhampton is going crazy. I mean, 34 million doesn't. It's sad that doesn't seem crazy to me. I was thinking they were probably going to ask for more than that. But Darko, laptop manager is like taking into consideration all aspects in account before playing. And Raja, you wanting Ugarte and Dilit to start when they aren't even a man. Well, Dilit's a man. Yeah, Dilit, I think. It's hard because Maguire had a good match, but Dilit is obviously our big signing, our main guy right now. So we'll see. I'd be interested to see who starts on the wing now that Ahmad might not be part of the squad. But yeah, Darko. But you are right. I have criticized in the past that Ten Hag he is a little hesitant sometimes when it comes to fitness and when it comes to players who aren't necessarily familiar with the tactics. I don't think he's going to be like that with some of these other players, though. I think Dilit maybe, because Dilit he was with the Netherlands squad. He wasn't really training. Did he even play a whole lot with Bayern in preseason? Dilit might not have just been match fit. Maybe that's why he didn't start necessarily. That's a different thing than being fit or being tactically sound. Yeah, Darko. Yeah, he's a United player, Dilit. Yeah, Ugarte is not a United player yet, my guy. So I don't know what that's going to look like. Let's hope he is by tomorrow. He could be back tonight. I was kind of holding off till this afternoon to do this just in case we got a here we go. But slow news day. But let me know your thoughts on Luke Shaw, you guys. Let me know what you think. Is this make or break season? Is this last chance saloon for Luke Shaw's United career? He's been here a decade. He really needs to step up this season, or we need to do everything we can to kind of find a buyer for him next summer. And let's see how that goes. Let me know your thoughts on the new channel name. Like I said, something I was rolling around with for a while, but I got distracted with just how quickly the channel was growing a little bit. MUFC versus everybody felt like a mouthful. So United versus everybody was something I've been wanting to do. Got the new logo. Everything's changed over. So let me know your thoughts. Danny B says, last season, move him on regardless. Yeah, this is the hard part, right? Because Ineos are going to be looking at it financially. They're going to want to get as much for him as they can. So they may want to sell him, but they're also going to be wanting us to play him and hope he does well. I would, like you're saying, let's hope he does well. Let's hope he plays. Let's hope he has a good season, stays fit, and let's sell him next summer. We've got Malacia still here, Mazraoui, Dilit. I think we need to improve on the left back. We need someone with a good injury record, right? And then we need someone who's first team quality. And I think those are the 2 main criteria that I would look for. We know Ten Hag likes his fullbacks to be a little bit more advanced, get a little bit more tactical kind of level to their game as well. Raja says new logo is very nice. Cool font is different. Thanks, man. Yeah, I did change it around a little bit. It looks like a barcode, my wife said, but that's okay. Darko says, how about every United body? That's a good one too, man. And like I said, when I made it MUFC versus everybody, it was about encompassing the Old Trafford as a fortress. It's United against everybody, kind of circling the wagons. kind of mentality that United is generally kind of famous for over the years. It's just we're make this place a fortress. It's us against the world. It kind of is a little bit tongue in cheek with the fact that it's the pundits and the journos and the media who are always out to get us. It's us versus everybody. There's a lot of abus out there in the media and stuff. We ruined a lot of childhood, so it is us versus everybody all the time, and so it is what it is. Raja says maybe it's Rashford left wing, Nacho at right wing. Let him work it out. Danny says, do you think Xerxes would start? I think Xerxes will start, but it could go I could go either way almost, because I think Ten Hag is going to want to do something. I said in my preview that I feel like if Mount starts, I almost feel like he might start in that pivot where Manu plays. Manu he looked tired. He didn't look bad. He just looked tired against Fulham. He really started to slow down. I wonder if Manu's maybe played a little too much and maybe could do it because he did go to the Euros as well. So I do think there's a chance we could see Mount in the 6 next to Casemiro. Mount does press. He does get around the pitch. And then maybe that could mean Xerxes is up top a little bit because Xerxes does kind of play a little deeper. He's like that 9.5, like you said. So he would adapt pretty well to this new system, especially that 4-2-4 when we're defending. Dark, everybody's throwing out the word now. Sean United's MPFC is good. That's funny. So Rajat thinks Xerxes is going to come from the bench, huh? This is what I like now, because it was like last season you almost just knew who was the starting 11 was going to be, just because we didn't have a whole lot of depth. We had a lot of injured players. It wasn't really like a guess. This year it's a good problem for Ten Hag to have, to be, and it's a good flexibility, right? To be able to say like, oh, this is who we're up against. I think this player might do better here. Let's move things around a little bit. Let's play this way. Let's put Mount here. No, we can put him deep. Like, those are good problems to have for any manager. And so I think Ten Hag's happy that he can do that. I'm happy that we can do that. Danny B says, I would arrest Manu. I agree. Look tired. Play Collier and Mount. Brighton might be in my opinion, Brighton might be a hard one to throw Collier in the deep end. I think Brighton have, they're always a potential banana skin for us, I feel like. And Welbeck just loves a goal against us since he left. I might bring Collier on late if Mount is tired. But this is the thing, too. Even if, let's say we're up by a couple goals and we've got 15 minutes left, now you can take Bruno off, push Mount to the 10, or drop Xerxes to a 10, maybe play without a striker and play with a false 9 in Xerxes, and bring on someone like Collier to kind of just shore things up a little bit and slow things down, keep the ball on the ground, not focus so much, make Brighton have to play for it. These are the kind of things you can do with more depth, with more quality and depth, with fit players now. We're able to rest players. Bruno never rests. Now we can. He's older now. He just signed that new contract, but he doesn't need to be playing as many matches as he's played almost 70 matches like the last 2 seasons. We can do that now. Danny B says, we have the Carabao Cup this week or next too. Oh, do we? Is already Carabao Cup? Jeez. Damn. Rajat says, damn, I hope it's not a 4-0 hammering like a Crystal Palace. Yeah, don't get me started on that. No Bruno, no party last season when he was gone for those few games. Darkro says, all I want is deserving players to start and not favorites of social media players. I don't think Ten Hag really gets into the social media players. I do think that he could be the kind of manager who likes to play players through rough patches like Rashford we've seen. And so I think he'd rather play Rashford and get him into form rather than bench him and let him try to get back to fitness. I think that Ten Hag might be that. But Ten Hag, I think people will say Ten Hag has favorites. I don't think it's a favorite as in like, I like this player more than you. It's that he's got players that he knows that are familiar with his system who can play what he's trying to play. I don't think Rashford can play tactical football. Rashford's a very good counterattacking player. We've seen that when he has to slow down and stuff, he struggles a bit. He's got a good pass on him. He's fast. His shooting has kind of gotten a little rusty in the last couple of years, but I think that I don't think he suits a Ten Hag system. And so that's why I did that video on, like, is this a make or break season for Rashford? Because it could be. It could be that tactically he just doesn't fit the plan and he needs to make a decision. And Ten Hag and Ineos might need to make a decision on Rashford as well, just like Shaw. Danny says, I think Collier would bring composure and steel in a shadow press instead of that 4-man high press. Yeah, I like Collier a lot. I think with the youngsters especially, I mean, with someone like him, fresh from the academy, he's really only played in preseason with the first team. I think you always run the risk with the young players, and it's gonna vary player by player, and this is why like individual man management is important, and getting to know the players a little bit is good. Is you do always run the risk with asking too much of some of these youngsters too soon, and that could really like make or break the trajectory of the next few years for them. I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm not saying that we always need to look out for them. I'm saying it's a factor that needs to be considered as well. And so I'm always a little conservative. I'd rather throw on players like that, like in preseason, like I've said, or when we're up by a couple goals. But then again, we were up by 3 goals against Coventry in like the 70th minute, and we almost lost that one. So what the hell do I know, right? I don't know. Raja says Mount press is good. Mount does press good. To his credit, he pressed well against Fulham. It's just he didn't show me enough on the ball. Like I've said, my dog can chase me with the ball, and she can even get the ball from me in the yard. But once she just know what to do with it, once she gets it, like there's more that needs to be done. There's 2 sides to the game. Like my dogs, they almost grabbed a rabbit one day in the backyard. They can catch the thing, no problem. Once they catch it, they're like, what do I do with this? Like there's more to it than that. But he did press well. I think that Mount's going to have a lot of rust to shake off because of how much football he missed last season. And he's going to have that added weight of pressure now. He was a priority signing last summer. He gave the number 7 shirt. I've said before, and I might do a video on Mason Mount as well. I need to know why we signed Mount. I need to know where he fits in the plans. Is he a squad player? Is he rotation? Does he have a spot in the starting 11? I need to know why Erik ten Hag brought Mason Mount to this club, why we opted. Part of me feels like maybe that was more of a previous regime thing, but we might never know. But Darko says, Sean, Erik ten Hag was supposed to do what Maresca did with Chelsea players he didn't want. I mean, again, but we've seen what's happening. Like I just spoke yesterday. I just called into SiriusXM and talked to Rodney a bit because they were talking about how Raheem Sterling was treated and how like Ben Chilwell and all these guys are treated. And they put the question out there, like, what are your thoughts? And I called in and I said, I can see both sides. I can see one of the most dangerous times for a manager is when new owners come in. One of the most dangerous times for players is when a new manager comes in. I can see, like, because you see it all the time. Managers, there are some players that have been in the club before the manager arrived, not in the plans. Now, I also feel like it could have been handled differently, but it's not as easy to sell players. And I'm sure Todd Bowley is not too happy about the fact that clearly they don't want these players. Clearly the manager's been pretty vocal that they don't want these players. So that's going to make it harder to get a good price for them now. Rodney asked me, like, well, what do you think about Conor Gallagher, being sold and then, Felix coming in? And I said, Chelsea are clearly struggling financially. That's why they sold Conor Gallagher, because he's all profit. Like, they're struggling. And I said, I'm not a Chelsea fan. So for me, I'm just going to cook up some popcorn and sit back and watch the Chelsea circus this season. But it is what it is. It's not as easy to sell players, and it's infinitely harder when it's clear that you don't want them, which is why I don't understand why PSG are digging in their heels on Ugarte. It doesn't make any sense to me. Danny says, yeah, I agree. He will start Manu. He'll probably start Manu because I think he really likes Manu. Manu was obviously in the plans last season. Had he not gotten injured, he probably would have been starting the entire season. Obviously, Manu was our player of the season in the award show the other week. So we all really like him. And I think, as Danny was saying too in that show, it was more about what he did for morale, not only for the club, the dressing room, but also for the fans and just for the club in general. Just with what he was last season. That's why. But I do like Manu a lot. I just think he's going to need to get rotated as well. He's going to need to rest now and then. And he looked really tired against Fulham. Darkrow says, Erik ten Hag will WhatsApp the lineup to Rajat and Danny. Not everybody is good at everything. Yeah, that's true. Raja says 100% get your point as well. Add some technicality to the ball attacking play. Darkrow, he was signed because the previous regime got a cut from fees of Mount and Anthony. Yeah, I don't know. I know that the timing of that meant that like Mount wasn't included on like this season's or last season, or maybe it was a season before, like his financial books for Chelsea. So it didn't count for that FFP, which I think helped them the way that went down. But I know a lot of people are frustrated with the Mount signing because he was going to be free in a year. So, but a lot of people were interested in Mason Mount. So clearly we just wanted to get him. I don't know why we don't have that same mentality with a few million quid for some of these other players. Like, you're haggling over 8 or 9 million for Ugarte, just pay it and get it over with. He could have been in the squad for tomorrow, and we could have looked much better as a result for that. But I'm not in charge, so it's not my money, but it is what it is, right? Danny B says, "What a waste! Estevao going to Chelsea. He would compete for a spot in our." Yeah, I don't get Chelsea, man. This is what I meant when I say just cook up some popcorn and sit back and watch, because they've signed literally almost 40 permanent transfers since Todd Bowley arrived. So that's more than 3 full starting 11s that they've signed. They have almost 50 first team players registered to the squad now. I don't understand how they're allowed to sign players. I don't understand how they're allowed to register players. I really don't get it. I think they're going to be in the same situation that Barcelona are in a couple of years. I don't know why players go to Chelsea other than just, I guess, the wages. They're not going to play. I mean, they'll probably loan him right back out to someone like Strasbourg or something who they also own. What we'll see. Raja, I want Rashford gone yesterday. Now, since he's at my club, kind of happy to back him. But Ineos don't want to overpay to go get anybody, so they don't really blame them. Danny B said, "Did they 100% sign Kendry Paez?" Oh, don't get me started. So many good young players. I feel like they did sign Kendry Paez as well. This is the problem when it comes to the multi-club ownership model, like the City Group. I know Ineos have a few clubs. Chelsea's Blue Co have a few clubs. It's hard to keep track of where all these players are coming and going, where the money's moving. Really, in all actuality, when you deep it, the money's not really moving. The money's staying in one place because it's going from the same club. The Red Bull Group, the same thing. I don't understand how Chelsea want to keep signing players. None of these players are really going to play. Like, so you're wasting. They're either going to go on loan, which they're not really supposed to be doing anymore. Didn't they get busted for sending too many players on loan like 5, 6, 7 years ago? And then because they had a transfer ban, right? And then you can't just let them sit and rot in the bench when they are going from playing first team to sitting on your bench and not playing, because they're not going to improve. They're not going to develop. You're probably going to have a new manager before the end of the season anyway, who's probably not going to want half these players that you've just spent the last 2 years and $2.5 billion signing. I mean, you spent over 200 million on Lavia, Enzo Fernandez, and Moises Caicedo, who none of them are fit to even lace Kobbie Mainoo's boots. But that's, if Chelsea and Todd Bowley want to keep spending money, finding out the hard way that spending is not necessarily a guarantee of success, like, do what you want. But they have spent so much money under Todd Bowley. It's embarrassing. If there was a football course on football finance, Chelsea would be its own textbook at this point. They're literally like, I'd like to know the odds on whether or not Maresca is even going to last the year. Like, I just don't get it. Danny B says, "Man, Chidi got Echeverri. That's right, from River Plate. And coming from in January, he'll be better than Alvarez." Raja, what are they freaking doing? Yeah, it's Chelsea are embarrassing. Chelsea are like, and this is the thing. This is why Chelsea have no plan. They're just signing everybody. They have no plan for any of these signings. It doesn't seem like Todd Bowley's done any research going into this. He's not seen that this kind of signing and loaning players out has gotten Chelsea in trouble in the past. He hasn't seen what FFP and PSR rules have to do with other things. Like, doesn't see what's happening to Barcelona. He doesn't like they kind of found a loophole early on with the those 7-8 year contracts, but even then, you're going to replace managers. What if a new manager comes in and doesn't want Mikhail Mudryk? So he's still got 7 years left on his contract. So now you've got this player who's going to be sitting around for the next 7 years, who you're paying, and you might have to sell for a loss. This is the kind of failure in planning that is going to cost Chelsea a lot in the long run. Darko Sean, have you been told you have Phil Jones? I have Phil Jones features, as in I got pink boots on, or I'm never fit, or I make funny faces when I go in for tackles. Or I think my funniest Phil Jones memory has nothing to do with tackles or anything. I think I laughed the hardest when I forget what match it was, but we got a corner and the camera cut and Phil Jones was taking it. He had his arms up like, "I got this." And I'm like, what is happening? Why is Phil Jones taking this corner kick? I lost my mind. Raja says, "CFC are running adoption centers. Do they want to get bankrupt? Go try to win some money off Wheel of Fortune. And why need to have 10 wingers and 8 goalkeepers?" Yeah, it's anyone's guess what the whole plan is. I don't think there is a plan. But Raja says, "Maybe a nice loophole, but if we play doesn't work out, you're going to get stuck with them." Exactly. And so and then you have these players that you like, Sterling and Chilwell and some of the other guys who you're just like, we don't need you anymore. And now they're just cool. So you're either They don't have to leave. Like Sterling doesn't have to go anywhere. He's getting paid a bit of money. He doesn't have to go anywhere. He can sit there and collect a paycheck if he wants to. Like, I'm sure he wants to play, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if the way he's treated and all this, if he was just like, no, I'm good. I'm gonna go train with the Rezzies. I'm gonna chill, get paid. Y'all can do what you want. Because he'll still go to the Saudi League in another year. So if he doesn't even play for Chelsea, Saudi League will still buy him. Danny B, funny faces 100. I plan to make funny faces. I could, but yeah, no. Phil Jones is he's doing his thing. He's trying to do his coaching badges and everything. He was pretty much interning and earning his license with our academy as well. So. Darkrow, Sean, British owners of clubs in America to some extent get preferred treatment and priority by the FA. Agree. I mean, I don't know how many British owners do own Premier League clubs. I know there's not many British coaches. How many of the owners in Premier League are actually British? I imagine not a ton. I know we have, Sir Jim now. We didn't for a long time, but I don't. There's a lot about other clubs in terms of the intricacies and inner workings that I just don't know because they're not my club. So I couldn't care less about some of that stuff, but it is what it is. Anything I need to know about La Liga, I talked to my buddy Justin about. He's the Madrid fan. Rajat, clown Chelsea fans. Oil, yeah, Oil FC. It is the Oil Derby is a fun one to watch. Chelsea versus City. I'm surprised that that's not a fire hazard with all the oil dripping from that derby. It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with City. Remember that trial, that judgment hearing got moved up to next month, so we could be hearing sooner or later. Like I tell my buddy Justin, and other people, I don't need City to get fined. I don't need to see points deductions. I don't need to see relegations. All I want from this is to everything they won during the period in question, every trophy, just take it away. Take the trophies away. Take away the Centurions. Take away all of it. All of it needs to go. And then I'll be fine. That's fine. I wouldn't mind seeing Pep try to manage in League Two if they get relegated. I think that would be hilarious. But if you do relegate them, you need to make it a clause that Pep has to stay for a year and play down on ESPN Plus or Gold TV or something. Darko, is it fair to call them plastic? You can call them whatever you want, man. You do whatever you want. I've never 100% said City are cheated. I'm waiting to see what happens. But we will see what happens, right? So on that note, though, don't forget to like the video if you haven't yet. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new. As always, these afternoon shows can get a little off book, which is fine. But I did want to make it the point today to talk a little bit about Luke Shaw. Sounds like some of you guys are in agreement that we need to be looking to move him on regardless. I've said it for months now. Left back should be a priority. We'll see what happens. We'll see if Ineos and Ten Hag agree. We'll see what Luke Shaw can do this season. He's supposed to be back fit in a few weeks, so we'll see. I know it said it wasn't going to be back till after the first international break. I swear to God, though, if Luke Shaw goes on international duty with England next month, I'm going to lose my shit, and I'm sure a lot of you will. Darkro says, "Road to 1K." Yeah, man, I know. It got crazy there for a few weeks, didn't it? It blew up a little bit, which was so humbling and so exciting. But at the same time, it was I was not expecting that. So yeah, road to 1K. Tell your husband, tell your wife, tell your kids, tell everybody. Subscribe, watch the videos, let me know your thoughts. If you know any United fans who you think would get a kick out of it, want to get involved in the channel, let them know. But that is going to do it for me today, you guys. Thanks, everybody, for stopping by. Thank you, Danny, Rajat, Darkro, Usman. I know you had to go, but thank you, my guy, for stopping by today. I will see you guys tomorrow. Remember, it's early kickoff. It's 7:30 a.m. for me, so I'll be up, ready to go. I'll be here shortly after the match to give my initial thoughts. And then Sunday, I will be back for my 3 thoughts on the match. So stop by tomorrow for the reaction to get your thoughts. Hopefully, it'll be another 3 points. It's going to be an important 3 points. If you want to know my thoughts ahead of it, go watch the preview video I put out yesterday. And we'll go from there. But you guys enjoy the rest of your night. I will see you guys tomorrow afternoon, all right? Later.